Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Lee Wind. I'm IBPA's Director of Education and Programs, and this is our ALA orientation for 2023. And we're doing this because we thought it would be helpful. And there were a couple of things last year that we were like, we should have told people about this ahead of time. So I have some slides. There's definitely going to be time for us to answer your questions as well. And if you're watching this recording, thank you. All right, here we go. So these are the four fabulous people that, well, let me not call myself fabulous. That's weird. Here are the three fabulous people in addition to me that will be the on-site ALA team. So Andrea, do you want to say hi?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Yes, and I will just state for the record that Lee is also fabulous. So even if you won't call himself fabulous, I can tell you with assurance that he is also fabulous. It's great to see you all, and I'm really excited to get up to speed and to be at ALA next week representing all of your books. Thank you all for partnering with us for this program, and I'm going to turn it back over to you, Lee.
Cool. And I see Catherine. Catherine, can you unmute, please, and say hi to folks?
Hi, I'm Catherine. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm really excited to be here and excited that ALA is just right around the corner.
Catherine is one of our board members, and is amazingly fabulous. Whoops, somebody has their audio on, and my voice is looping. And Catherine stepped in at the very last instant to help us last year, and was so spectacular in helping in the booth that she got rewarded by doing more volunteer work. So thank you, Catherine. And then Christopher.
Hello, everyone. Yes, last year, Catherine came to the very last minute to ALA because I broke my knee and I could not travel. So very grateful, Catherine, and glad to have you back. And I can tell you this, ALA is such an incredible experience for our members' books. Like the librarians get so excited. So I can't wait to represent y'all's books there again.
And so this is, so we're the on-site team. There are more people from the IBPA team that are helping with ALA, but we'll talk about Terry and Ingrid a little bit later. But this is our agenda for today's meeting. So it's going to be kind of in three parts. The first part is sending your book and sort of like, what you need to know if you just are sending a book to ALA with IBPA. The second part is if you are attending in person or you have authors that you are published that are showing up in person at ALA to either volunteer or do one of the giveaways. And then we'll have a time for your questions. So if it sounds good, let's jump in. Okay, you should all be able to say, yes, I checked this off of my list, because literally tomorrow morning, we are shipping all the books from the IBPA office to Chicago for ALA. If Terry does not yet have your books or you have not done that, please make sure to call the IBPA office today and connect with Terry. So there's a plan for getting your books up on the shelves in our booth. But hopefully you can all just go like, whoosh, done this. All right, next. Think about synergy. How are you driving librarians to the IBPA booth to see your book? This is an example of something I did a few years ago for ALA when it was in New Orleans. This is a book that I crowdfunded and published, and this is the Instagram posts that I did that I used because I have a lot of librarians that follow me. So I used it to let them know that I was going to be there signing and giving away ARCs of my book. I told them the time, I told them the booth number. And then when I got to the booth and actually saw my name and my book on the signage at the booth, I took a photo and I redid the thing. So I was trying to drive librarians to the IBPA booth to see my book on the shelf, to get a free ARC. This is not the only way to do it, but this is something to consider. Second thing to consider is that marketing is a process. It's not just a single thing that you're doing. So you're looking ideally for synergies. I have this up because this was a really cool story. So this is at ALA at the IBPA booth, and this is an author publisher who had a poster of his book, the Book of Edie, up on that tripod behind him as he was doing his giveaway. A librarian was wandering by and walking down the aisle and saw the book cover saw the poster cover and got really excited and said out loud, "Oh my gosh, I just read that on NetGalley. It was amazing." And then a couple of other librarians were like, "What?" And they came over and they started talking, and like suddenly there was like this big group of people. This woman on the right is like, "I have goosebumps." Like it was just this very exciting moment. And it happened because this publisher had done multiple things, right? They had their book up on NetGalley and they were there at this signing, and they didn't just have their books to sign away. They had a poster that they could put up. We will have tripods so you can do posters. Like it was just a lovely moment of sort of synergy happening. And a whole bunch of librarians gathered around to hear the story of this moment. So again, that's not the only way to do it, but this is the thing you want to be thinking about. How do you make it add up so it's, a multiplier of the things that you're doing?
Lee, quick question from someone. You had shared on social media about your books. So people are wondering, what was the platform that you shared? Instagram, Facebook?
So you really need to think. We have a lot of echo going on. So if anybody, whoever's not muted, please mute. Okay, thank you. So I totally just forgot the question.
Where did you share on social media?
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I shared on Instagram. That is where I had a lot of following. At the time, I was very active on Twitter as well, so I shared there. I'm not active on Twitter anymore. I mean, you really have to think about where your audience is. I mean, this audience is librarians. So do you have librarians following you on any of the socials? And if so, where? Or if you're active on Facebook, then you want to do it on Facebook. You want to go to where your intended audience is. And right now, this is librarians. I mean, if you have a lot of librarians following you on TikTok, by all means, do it on TikTok. But you want to get the word out to the people you're pitching to. And this is a pitch to librarians. This is the booth from, I believe, last year, from 2022. As our booth is actually going to be bigger this year. I don't believe we're going to have the tables in the front. I think it's just shelves, but I'm not sure. No guarantees on that. But we will have 2 signing tables. Those are the things you see on the far left and the far right at the front of the sort of red carpet. At the center is a table with information about IBPA, with the bookmarks that you may have sent or some of your colleague publishers have sent. There is a stand, a rotating stand for cards on that table as well. And then the bookshelves are where all your books are. So generally the way it works is that if you've sent an individual book, it will be by category, starting on the left side, working the way across to the right. And then on the right side is if you've bought a shelf of books, that's where most of the publisher shelves are located. It is alphabetical, to be fair. Nobody's getting the top shelf or the bottom shelf because we like them more. It is purely an alphabetical exercise. The name of your publishing company, the category, the title of your book within it. And then, of course, we have to make some accommodations because sometimes the books are really tall and they don't fit in the shelf. And then maybe we'll move a group to a higher shelf. We do try to be fair to everyone. That's our goal. Okay, you can see on the bottom left that that's just the librarian browsing. And I did ask their permission before taking their photo. I said, do you mind, can I snap a photo of you looking at one of the books on the shelves? And then on the right, you can see that's a good, bottom right, that's a good shot of the sort of rotating stand for the cards, the sort of postcards. And this is our current booth number for this year, 3711, a good number to write down, to know. It will be on all of our correspondence with you, but 3711, that's the number. Okay. Everybody at ALA on that exhibition floor will be wearing a badge. They can't get on the floor unless they're wearing a badge. There are 2 important things to know about the badges. Can you see my cursor? So one is that every badge has a QR code on it. Actually, the badges have another QR code on the back not near their name. This is not a useful thing. The one on the back is like ALA information. The important one is right here, right under their name. When a librarian comes to our booth, our goal is that we want to scan their badge with one of our sort of mobile devices. I believe we are going to have 3 devices that can scan. It will probably be Christopher's phone, my phone, and then a third independent scanner device that either Catherine will have or we will share with the volunteers in the booth. Here's the thing. If we scan a librarian's badge, that means we have their name and their title, where they work, and we have their email address. So we can follow up with them, and we know that they're a librarian that likes independently published books. I'll explain a little bit more later, but getting a badge scanned is a really, really important thing for IBPA. And then there's also a color code on the badges. It changes year to year. You can see here, this was the year I gave away copies of my book. If your eyesight is really good, you can see that my badge is blue, it says exhibitor. But then this past year, it was purple, exhibitor was purple. We don't know the color they're going to do it. What's important for you to know is that librarians will have a different color than exhibitors. So as you're going around and people are walking, you want to look and see, are they a librarian? And for 2 years, the librarian color was red. This is very helpful because if somebody is another exhibitor, it's not so great necessarily for you to bring them into the booth, to offer them a review copy, or it's just a good thing for you to know. We'll get into it a tiny bit more later about what the volunteer jobs are, but I wanted you to know that there's 2 codes that are important on a badge at ALA. Okay. There will be a catalog of all the participating IBPA member titles. All of your books will be featured in this catalog. There is both a digital and a print version of the catalog. One of the great things that we say is that if you allow us to scan your badge, we'll email you a digital copy of the catalog so you don't have to carry anything further. Librarians come to ALA and they have rolling luggage with them because they're planning on taking a lot of books and a lot of ARCs, and it's a little exhausting. There's so much that they're carrying. Note that we do have print copies of this catalog, but they're really for the librarians, and it doesn't help if all 200 of our print copies are taken by our publisher members, because then there are no copies for the librarians. And this is, in fact, just got designed yesterday. This is the final design of our cover. Again, the covers that are on the cover were chosen purely by our designer, just things that she thought looked good and popped against the cover. We were not trying to play favorites. We just wanted it to really catch the eye, and we think it does that. Okay. Setting your expectations. So best case, you're going to get a lot of sales through your regular distribution channels. The average case is you're going to get some sales, and the worst case is that you're getting exposure to the marketplace. And again, think about those synergies and what are the things that you can do to leverage your participation at ALA. After the show, you're going to be 3 things that you'll get. One is the show report, which is, this is a snapshot of last year's. You'll also get an executive summary email from us, giving you more detail beyond the show report. And then you're going to get a spreadsheet of the librarian contacts. This is when we've scanned somebody's badge, they end up on a spreadsheet like this, and then we share that with you. We trust that you will, this is the note we say. Please keep in mind that this is a confidential list available only to you as participants of our IBPA 2023 ALA conference program. We want to make sure the librarians who kindly allowed us to scan their badges don't feel spammed. So please keep that in mind. Here's 2 examples of follow-ups. Betty, I'm shouting out to you here because I thought you guys did a beautiful job. Of follow-up emails sent to librarians after the show. This one started out, thank you so much for stopping at the IBPA booth at the 2022 ALA annual conference, a little explanation about the publishing house, and then some information about the books that were displayed. This is a pretty similar one from another publisher member that participated last year. Sort of a greeting, a thank you for visiting the booth, about the publisher, and then about some of their titles. We thought these were both really elegant examples and wanted to share them. Okay. So that's the first half. That is if you're sending your book in. If you're coming in person, or you're having an author coming in person, that's the part we're going to jump into next. So the first thing is to make sure that you ordered your badge for you, for your author, for whoever you expect to have walk in with you to the exhibition hall. They're very strict about it. If you don't have a badge, they don't let you in on the exhibition floor. And then remember about the badge color coding, to look to see who is a librarian. And again, you will have an exhibitor badge because you're getting it for free through IBPA and we're an exhibitor. So altogether, we're going to have over 270 books on our shelves. If you're doing an author signing or slash book giveaway, these are 30-minute time slots. Here's the general math of that. You can give away about a book a minute. So 25 books maximum, maximum in quote, in quotes. Do plan on a 5-minute passing period. We have a lot of tips for you, but I just want to show that on the left-hand side, on each side of the booth, there will be posted the schedule of the giveaways. So there is still availability. If you want to still sign up, you can contact Terry in the office or sign up online. Christopher, I don't know if you can pop that link in. But there is still availability to give away the books. You're not selling the books. This is the librarians you are offering a copy of the book to librarians. Generally, it's a review copy. Oftentimes we've seen publishers, put a sticker on it or something that says, not for resale. But generally, you're trying to get the librarians excited about your book by giving them a copy and then hoping that they get copies for their collections. All right, so we have, with Christopher's grand assistance, we came up with a list of tips. This is the most important tip in my mind, which is don't take other publisher author books. Do not let your authors get in line for somebody else's giveaway of a book at the conference. Even if it's at somebody else's booth, to be honest, it's not awesome to do that because this is for librarians. If you take a book as an author or as a publisher that you're kind of taking the opportunity for a librarian to discover that book away from that publisher. So we saw a lot of this last year and it was kind of frustrating. So do your best to let your team of people that are coming know that that's not the ideal. It's different if it's if they see that you're an exhibitor and they say, oh, would you like it? And you can say, well, I'm an exhibitor, is that okay? Or would you rather save it for a librarian? It's not like you're not allowed, but generally I would say save them for the librarians. Some librarians are chatty, which is great if you don't have a long line, go ahead, chat. But if you do have a line, then, I think this is a great suggestion. Get their contact information, ask if you can reach out later. Make sure that they get scanned, the badges of everybody that gets a copy of your book, because we have the ability in our in the app to label what book they're taking. And that way, if you've given away an ARCs of your book, we have a specific list for you of the librarians that got a copy of your book. If you run out of physical copies to give away, have a backup plan, which is giving away bookmarks or postcards. You can please bring posters, other things to give away at the signing, but please note the booth has almost no storage space. So we can't hold it for you. Similar to your books, and your luggage, please don't think that you can leave it at the booth with us. We don't have space for it. They do have a coat check kind of thing, or bring rolling luggage. Rolling luggage is really, really the thing. Even for the water bottles that we'll have, I'll tell you, I'm going to bring my rolling luggage and roll the bottles across the floor because I don't want to carry that. Yeah, so as much as you can, you want to show up with your books, because we just don't have the space to store it. If you have a line of librarians that are still waiting to get copies of your book, and you're sort of the 25 minutes are up of your time, we will pull aside to that center table one of the stools, and we'll let you, finish giving away the books to those librarians. We want to be gracious, and we also would love for you to be gracious as well, in terms of if there's somebody right after you. Right now we have about 40 time slots filled at the two tables. There is still some availability, and we will get to your questions in a moment. Volunteering. The gentleman on the right, I forget his name, but this is one of our big volunteer gigs, is that if there's a book giveaway happening at the table, you stand in the aisle with a copy of the book, and you kind of, you're not accosting people, but you're sort of inviting them in. You're like, you get, like, from the publisher, from the author that's there, you get what the pitch is. And this was a cool, adventure story based on a real life African-American pilot, and female pilot. And so that was really cool. And so that's a big part of that gig. Catherine, what you want to say something else about the volunteer gig, about bringing people to the booth? You've done a lot of this.
Yeah, I think this is a really good time to be really creative about it. I think what we're trying to avoid is having us go around saying free book, free book. We want people to come to the desk and meet the author, talk about the book. I know there's only so much time that they can, stand there and talk to the author, but this is a great time for them to meet other members and librarians. But yeah, I think this is just a really fun way, and it's going to go by really, really fast. So yeah, there's just, it's just a quick thing, but yeah.
And then another volunteer gig is that there are librarians that are sort of wandering by. There are librarians in line. There are librarians browsing the shelves. With all of them, you want to just be like, you want to thank them for their interest in indie published titles, because as we all believe, we don't want there to only be 5 corporations deciding what everyone gets to read. We're really proud of being independent. So we can you can direct them to Catherine or Andrea or Christopher or myself if they have questions that you can't answer. Bring good and grateful energy to the whole thing. And then again, we want to scan the badges. So there are a couple of enticements. One is that we have the digital catalog and we can send them a copy. We have a contest for librarians that if their badge gets scanned, they get entered in a drawing for $500 cash. Although I think we send them a gift card. And also just so we know that they're a librarian who appreciates independent voices, and then they'll get added to our list. And then that does a couple of things. They get added to the list that you all will get a copy of, but they also get added to the list of 30 times a year IBPA sends out to a promotional email, our library e-blasts, to publishers with 15 member titles. And we add the librarians that we've met at ALA to that. It's called our IBPA house list of librarians. And so we pay this company LibraryWorks to send to 5,000 of the librarians, like 5,000 elementary school librarians, for example. But LibraryWorks, because we do so much business with them, they add the 1,200 elementary school librarians that we've met at ALA to that send. It gets deduped out of our eyesight, but that's really cool. And that's a real benefit for IBPA members. So it's really, really great to get those badges scanned. And then please recognize that if you are volunteering, you are not just representing your book. You can't just stand in the booth and talk about your title. You're really there as a representative of all the books. This is a cooperative booth. We have 270 plus titles. You can certainly mention that your own book or books are in the booth as well, but you're there to help the librarians find the other things that they might be interested in.
And Lee, if I could just add one more thing, I think what's another helpful thing is to ask the author what are a couple great, selling points of their book, what's something that they want to highlight or feature, and then that could help bring in other librarians. I think a lot of the times last year, I would explain what the book was to somebody passing by and they would think it's really interesting and then join the line, but they may not have beforehand. And you will get a few people saying that they can't carry any more books, but that's just, a good time for you to be creative and say, no, you need this book. And yes, Valerie.
Or
to your
great, let
point-
us scan your badge and we'll send you the
Yes.
digital catalog, nothing to carry.
Exactly. And to your question, Valerie, we scan a lot.
Yeah, I believe it was over 1,300. Sorry, in 2020, we scanned 1,350 badges. And that was just Catherine and me. So this year we're going to do more. we have Andrea and Christopher to help. And then thank you. Christopher, anything to add about volunteering?
No, we definitely have questions, but I'll ask those in a bit.
Cool. We also have a networking event. Christopher, I said I wasn't going to make you present anything, but you are cooking this one up. So I'm going to make you talk about it.
Well, it's going to be the greatest event in the history of ALA. So let's throw that out. So it's on Friday night, and just so you know, if you live in the Chicago area, or you are maybe not even coming to the conference or whatever, or you have friends and family there, everyone's invited. This is, it's not exclusive. So anyone who likes indie publishing, bring them. It's at the hotel that the staff is actually staying at. I'll put in the chat the exact hotel and all that, but it's from 7:30 to 9 that Friday night, June 23rd. And look in the chat and I'll tell you the hotel and stuff.
Cool. And then just to bounce back to the volunteering for one moment, if you are going to be on the floor and you want to volunteer, we still do need volunteers. So email Terry. And if one of my colleagues could pop Terry's email address in the chat, that would be fantastic. And then we've done 2/3 of this thing, and we're at your questions. But before that, I just want to say, this is the shout out to the full ALA team. And I want to thank Terry Nathan, who is in the office and is doing all the sort of like pulling it all together work. And to Ingrid, our designer, who has pulled together this catalog and it is going to look so great and so amazing. And you're all going to feel really great about that. So, all right, I'm going to turn off screen sharing because we don't need to see this. What are your questions?
Okay, Lee, I'm going to ask the questions that were in the chat first, but then I'm going to have people who are here, if you can do what's called raising your hand, not physically though. If you see at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little thing that's like a face. So click on that and we just want you to raise your hand doing that. So if you can see, I did mine. Okay, so here's some of the questions that people were asking, Lee. Number one, we had talked about sharing on social media for people, from our members, but they're wondering, is IBPA gonna maybe be able to share our members like on our own page in terms of like, if somebody shares on social media, like, well, can we reshare onto our page? So I can answer that partly. So I can tell you that the staff is going to be like at the conference and we're going to be like overwhelmed. So we can think about how to make this work. Our team is in the office, so some of the days they can, but then it's also on the weekend. So Lee, what are your thoughts about them sharing so we can reshare?
Well, definitely tag IBPA. And that way we can, it surfaces for us, right? And then we can talk with our team, Adeline and Ashley, who mainly run the social media, about keeping an eye on that, although I don't think they'll do it over the weekend. But having said that, think about when the librarians are going to be most active, right? This is probably, think about Thursday and Friday. Thursday is generally going to be a travel day for a lot of these librarians. The show opens for 2 hours on Friday evening. We'll be setting the booth up on Friday day. So I think that, but this is really about like, reaching out to sort of the people in the librarians that you already have that you're interacting with. Maybe you direct message them. Maybe if your publishing house already has a librarian list, you can give them a heads up and be like, hey, we're so excited. We have, 2 books in the IBPA booth, 3711, we hope you'll swing by. It's about sort of like leaning into those connections, and we can certainly boost, but I don't think we're going to drive a lot of traffic based on the librarians following IBPA by amplifying your posts. We're happy to do so, but within the constraints of the fact that we're working the floor and it's over the weekend, I just don't know how much boost you're going to get from IBPA's, amplifying it.
And Lee,
Having said that, we certainly can on Thursday and Friday because those are work days, and we can get our team on that.
And they're wondering if there's going to be a special IBPA hashtag for the ALA conference, or if they should just use like @IBPA or whatever our handle is, and then use the ALA hashtag.
I'm 80% sure the ALA hashtag is #ALA 2023, but
I posted it actually in the chat.
What is it?
It's #ALAAC23.
ALA Annual Conference 2023. 2023 or 23?
Just 23. It's in the chat. It's ALAAC2. I don't know why they made it so complicated, but anyway, I'll put it in the chat again. But it's also on their page, so just go to the ALA like Twitter page. Or
I see it. Yeah.
And okay, so another question is, people are asking about IBPA taking photos of our members' books on the shelf and when they will see. First of all, absolutely, we take photos of all of our members' books, but the question is they want to know like when they'll get those photos, probably because they might want to post them that weekend.
I think in the past, I don't know what we've done in the past in terms of getting the photos. I think we've posted them to our Facebook group. But
Yep.
I'm trying to think, Christopher, we've taken the photos.
Yeah, so we normally have taken the photos and then we have a Facebook page, and so we upload them to that page. The thing is, again, when we're at the conference, we're working. And so in terms of us like having the time, we take the photos, but having the time to then individually like email them to our members, it just becomes a bit untenable. So we can get you the photos of each of your books, but it probably won't be that particular weekend. Sound good?
Right. Or yeah, I'm just thinking about it's going to be very hard for us to do it on the fly.
Yeah, because we have 270 books and then we're doing all those other things. But anyway, don't worry, we'll let you know where the photos are after the conference ends. And
but this is also an opportunity like for some of the networking to happen. So like if you know that you're not going to be there, but you want someone to snap a photo of your book on the shelf at ALA, connect with somebody else that is going to be volunteering and going, and then maybe they can just snap a photo and text it to you.
Okay, so people are also wondering, when is the digital copy of the catalog going to be available for like members to view it?
Hopefully before we go to ALA. That's the goal. Yeah, so we'll have a nice bit.ly for it, something a little more intuitive than ALAAC 23. But yeah, we'll have that available certainly by the conference, because we're following up with the librarians pretty soon after that. But for you all to promote it, we can try to get that to you earlier.
And we'll just email a link to them, Lee, for the everybody who's on this call and everybody who's who's part of this program.
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that.
Okay, great. And by the way, Betty, who's amazing, is going to be at the conference. She just put in the chat, she said that she's happy to take a photo of people's books, and you can email her, and that's very, very kind of you, Betty. And we will pay you with hugs. So thank you. So another question is, people are asking, they're going to be flying to the conference, the people who are going to be there in person, and they're wondering about taking materials, books, poster art, stuff like that, on a plane, if we have any tips for them.
If you're getting a poster printed on like 1/4-inch foam core, if you're sending luggage, pack it in between the layers of clothing. I actually think the safer idea might be to have it printed in Chicago and pick it up from, you know, the Kinko FedEx or whatever in Chicago. There actually is one in McCormick Place. It might be really busy. You might want to do one closer to by your hotel or your Airbnb, wherever you're staying. You know, if you can roll it up, it's going to be a flimsy thing that isn't going to really work on the sort of, what is it called? The tripod thingy, the poster display thing. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has a better tip. Easel, thank you, Marty.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely pack our own stuff and ship it, and you know, if you can put anything in your suitcase is the best. But for like a poster, a lot of times what IBPA will do is we will find, you know, in the area, but well, we're physically going to be there. We'll have like a FedEx person. If you're going to be going, I would say get it printed maybe at a place there and then pick it up there, so you're not having to take it on the plane, you know, and then, you know, just pick it up there at whatever FedEx place.
And that's what we do for all of our signage, by the way. We have our designers send the files to the FedEx at McCormick Place, and we pick it up there because it's just too much of a headache to try to, and they're bulky and awkward and weird. So.
And some people are asking about ways, we had talked about taking photos at the conference. So some very kind people have put in the chat their information that you can reach out to them about taking photos. So, you know, just look in the chat and you can see some of those people. They're wondering if we as IBPA are going to be with the easels for their signs and stuff for like the demos. Are we going to be providing those things for them?
We'll have 2 easels, one at each of the demo tables.
Great. And are there other? Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because the closed captioning said we'll have 2 weasels. We will not have 2 weasels. We will have 2 easels.
Only humans will be the live animals at this event.
Gosh, AI.
So they're also, someone's saying, rather than use the easel, would it be okay to set up a 2-foot wide retractable banner just during the 30-minute book signing?
Yes, that is totally cool, but keep in mind that you cannot block the you can't block the books. So we set up sort of a little bit behind where you're sitting or a little bit off to the side of where you're sitting. We can't go into the aisle. We also just have to be respectful that there's still other, we still want the librarians to explore all the other books in the booth at the same time. And this is a good reminder to also, if you're coming in person and you're bringing your luggage, your rolling luggage with all your books inside it, you can't just like leave it all strewn in the back under the bookshelves. We're really trying to keep it neat and not look like a garage sale. I mean, we spend a silly amount of money to have this booth professionally built out. It is actually much nicer than many of the booths you'll see from some of the larger publishers. It is really professional and really nice. And so we need your help to help us keep it looking nice. So there is those stands where those demo tables have space under them where you can sneak your piles of books and stuff. And we do have a very small sort of closet area where we can put the empty boxes or the empty luggage briefly. But we're constantly rotating, and it's really it's a churn through the booth. So we don't want it to feel like a churn. We want it to feel very gracious and lovely for the librarians, and we want it to feel really good for you as well. So again, help us keep it really nice.
Elite people are really excited about the weasels now. So
I'm seeing Adam's comment. That's hysterical. And in fact, last year, our winner of the librarian that won $500 actually has a photo of, they had like, I don't know, therapy bunnies. They had bunnies in the middle of the space. And there's a photo of her with a bunny next. Okay, I'm going to find that and share it with everybody because it's so ridiculous.
So while you're looking for that,
Bruce, can I just add something?
yeah.
I just thought it sounds kind of like an obvious point to make, but right before you were signing, I would just double check or triple check that you have everything and that everything works. Last year we had one author who had a poster and they must have sent it on the airplane and it got damaged. So we had to find tape and tape it together so that it would actually stay up. And stay up straight. So just, it sounds like an obvious point, but I just would recommend making sure that everything works and is in working order and you have everything.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, that I did not, that year that I had my book out, I had a little sign and I did not check the sign and there was a mistake on it. There was like a weird typo thing that I wish I had seen the day before. So check your signage. And if you click on that link in the chat, you can see that incredibly cute image of the bunny and the librarian friend who won $500.
Lee, some people are wondering about dress code, the ones who are showing up in person. How should they dress?
Well, in California, we call it California casual. I think, dress in the way that you feel it professionally represents you and what your role is. If you're the publisher and you feel like you're professionally represented in your hockey outfit because you publish hockey books, that's cool. If you are, talking about, fine dining, maybe you want to wear a ball gown or a tuxedo or a tuxedo gown. It's really, we've had people come in costume. It really gets a lot of attention, but like any spice, use it sparingly and thoughtfully. I think at the end of the day, we are trying to be we are about being professionals, and saying that independent publishing can be as professional and the books can be as wonderful as anything coming out from corporate publishing. In fact, it's maybe even more wonderful because it isn't corporate. So I think just keep that in mind. You want to be professional, and whatever that looks like to you. I will not be in a suit and tie. That's not my jam. I will wear really nice sneakers and a fun button-down shirt and slacks, because that's my professional. But you do you do what's professional for you.
Well,
and, I don't know if you just in terms of, and also for people that might want to wear high heels, keep in mind it's a lot of walk-in. So be kind to yourself.
Wear
Sorry,
comfortable shoes.
yeah, and since we have the IBPA Benjamin Franklin Awards, I'm going to dress up like Benjamin Franklin. So just keep that in mind. People are saying bring pens. Yes, when you're doing the book signings, just bring some extra pens for yourself, because it may not be working, and then what are you going to do? So, and then Lee, I don't know if you mentioned, but I know some people during the actual signing ran out of books, and you can then do some clever things, like maybe say that you'll send them like a digital copy or something. So, you don't have to give up the opportunity to give them something. You're going to get people's email addresses, in that sheet. So you can say, hey, I'm going to get a full list of everyone who visited this booth. I'm happy to send you a digital copy or something.
Please have somebody please allow us to scan your badge so I can follow up with a digital ARC. Would be a great thing to say.
And Lee, everyone's giving us their books for the booth. What happens to these books that we have in the booth after ALA ends?
They get donated to, we teamed up with a bunch of different, basically ALA designates a couple of nonprofits that they donate the books to, and because it's not just our booth that has all the leftover books, everybody's booth has leftover books pretty much. So ALA will designate a particular nonprofit. I don't know who it is this year, but then that's what we do with the books.
Great. I'm going to put in the chat one more time about the demo table, because we do still have some openings. And is there anything else before we finish up? Please put questions in the chat. In terms of exposure, even if you're not coming, how great the exposure is for your book, Lee or Andrea, that you want to mention about the program?
I mean, this is a conference where thousands of librarians are coming. So, you want to think about it strategically, that it's not just about this single book. It's really about the fact that you are a publisher that has multiple books that they might be interested in. So this is about building relationships, and think about what's going to be satisfying for you, like what's going to define success for you. Like I know when I go to like a party, like a dinner, a networking dinner-y kind of party kind of thing, I think if I have one good conversation, okay, I've done it. Like that's like, so maybe your goal if you're coming is to have one good conversation with the librarian. What's going to make the most sense. You can order exhibitor badges on the website. Andrew, you haven't been for IBPA, but you've been to ALA many times. Do you want to share any advice or thoughts?
I will echo the advice about not wearing high heel shoes. I can send you all a picture of my 3-inch heels from last year, and I will tell you that my feet were very uncomfortable after that experience. The other thing I just want to echo is that librarians are such an important part of our publishing ecosystem, and especially in this moment where it's really critical for us to have that symbiotic relationship with librarians and with libraries, whether they're public libraries or they're academic or public school libraries. This is a great moment if you're going to be there to make those connections. Librarians need publishers and publishers need librarians. So as Lee was saying, as much as it's about the book that you're there to promote, it's also about making those connections and having those important conversations. And don't feel shy about going up to someone and striking up a conversation with a librarian. They're very chatty, and they like to talk about books and culture and all sorts of things. So I hope for those of you who are attending that you'll take advantage of the opportunity just to have some really good conversations.
And I would add, thank you. And I would add, keep in mind that they're kind of under attack right now, librarians. They've been sort of foisted in the front lines of this sort of culture conflict that's happening in our country right now. So voicing your appreciation for them is probably going to be very well received. And, really think about how, because you're participating in ALA, but libraries are a way that books get discovered and purchased. And there's a lot of data that backs that up, that selling a book to a library doesn't mean you're losing sales, it means you're gaining sales. And you're gaining readers beyond a single reader for a single copy. So we really love librarians, and hope you do too.
So some people are wondering about the exhibitor badges, the badges that they need to pick up. Can you give them some tips on like where to get all that stuff?
If you've ordered a badge, you should be able to pick it up at the exhibitor registration table. At the conference, when you show up, there's different lines. One is attendee and the other is exhibitors, and there's probably another line that's like speakers and stuff. But find the exhibitor area, because technically you are part of the IBPA exhibit at 3711, booth 3711, and it's very well organized. They do a really, really good job, ALA.
Let's say they forget the number of the booth, Lee. Would they be able to ask someone or to look in the little catalog that says like IBPA booth?
Yeah, you can actually look it up on the ALA site. If you search IBPA, you'll see it's 3711. You can even see where we are in the map. We have a really good location this year. It's very exciting. We are very central. And then just to answer Marty's question that I see in the chat, if you have ordered publisher shelves, we will have a label on the shelf, on the front edge of the shelf, that has the name of your publishing house on it. And also we will have signage for the categories, for if you're just saying a single book or 2 books, depending on where they are, what category they're part of, every shelf will be labeled. And yeah, email Marty, email Terry, and he's running the volunteer schedule, and that will be great.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize again that list that you're going to get afterward, first of all, again, we're working the conference, so it's not like we're going to send you the list like, the day after, but we'll send it as soon as we can. but absolutely take advantage of that list. And that's one of the really main things about doing this program is you have that direct connection with librarians. Again, respectfully email them, but it's something that you shouldn't just be part of this program, have your book there, and then go, "Whoop, I'm done with the program." That's kind of the beginning of your experience with the ALA conference.
Yeah, you want to build relationships with these librarians.
Anything else you want to add, Lee?
I think that was my information dump on ALA. It's a really fun conference. Bring great energy. If you want to still have bookmarks or postcards, you can probably bring them with you. Just arrange with Terry so he knows that you want to bring them and we can add them to the table. There are still a few spots to give away copies of the books. If you want to do that, we definitely could use some volunteers. I want to just a special shout out, Marty, thank you. Everybody that helped sort of break down last year. It was very hard last year because we were sort of understaffed. Christopher, I'm blaming you. But
blame basketball. It's terrible. Don't do it.
But happily you're better this year, and it should be a lot easier, but we definitely could use some volunteers on Monday. We can use some volunteers almost all the way around. And yeah, it's really fun. I mean, these librarians, it's like, this is their big moment, their annual conference. So it's a great time.
Someone's asking about this recording. We will email it to you before the conference. So we'll get it to you, but I don't know if later today, but absolutely you will get a recording of this before the conference. And
I'm also, please feel free to share that slide, which had the tips for authors on the signing with the 7 points. Please feel free to share that.
I have a question.
Your authors.
The list that we get afterwards, how many librarians and contacts will that entail?
So last year we scanned 1,350 badges. So some of them were exhibitors, but the vast majority were librarians. And then you can see by their title what kind of librarian they are. So be thoughtful, like if it's an elementary school librarian, don't necessarily send them information about your, adult memoir.
Awesome. Well, we are so grateful to all of you for, someone unmuted. I cannot stand my own voice. Okay, great. So thank you again. Really, we genuinely appreciate you for being part of this. And I promise you, when we get there, our focus is to get as many librarians in that booth to take interest in your books. Like, that's our goal there. So we really appreciate you for trusting us to represent your books.
And just to say, like, that's a lot of what we do as volunteer in the booth as staff, but also as volunteers, is that a librarian can come and be like, say, do you know about IBPA? And they can be like, well, no, I don't. And you can, say, oh, well, we're a nonprofit that, aims to empower independent publishers. You can get into the whole thing of advocacy, education, and tools for success, but really you could just be like, and here are 270 plus books from our members. And then they can say, oh, well, I'm really interested in, adult memoir. We could be like, well, come on over. We can show you there's this stuff here. And then there's these companies here. So that's a bit of what we do as well. So it's helpful to be familiar with the catalog. And Susan, I see your hand up.
Yes, I have a question. I'm sorry, I missed the first part, so I'm glad this is recorded. Do librarians come up to you and ask you for a particular type of book? And are you familiar with all your 270 books that you're going to have in order to point them in the right direction and suggest something?
We do our best. I mean, we're the ones putting the books up on the shelves, and we know the categories. So, I mean, we try to be familiar. We can't, necessarily hand sell every book there. But as much as we can, we try to, direct interest to You know, if it's super, super specific, if they're like, I'm looking for that hockey romance, if there's not a hockey player on the cover and it doesn't read romance, I don't know that I'll be able to do that, but I'll do my best.
Do you group all the children's books together and okay, great.
Yes, if you're sending individual books, there is a children's picture book, there's a children's section. And then you know, children's picture books are pretty easy because we can also see which publishers have full shelves with children's books included. And so we'd send them to 2 places.
And the librarians are there to browse too. They really enjoy it. So they do ask us sometimes, but honestly, sometimes we'll say, "Oh, can I help you?" And they're like, "Oh, I just want to look." Like they just want to go up to and just look at all the books. That's why I'm sure you all know your book covers so key in general, because that's what's going to grab their eye. And that's not an ALA thing. That's everything. So just keep that in mind. But we lay them out so everything's clear in terms of the different genres and all that. And there are librarians who specifically focus on, you know, whatever different genres. So, but a lot of times they just walk up and they just want to see a certain genre and they just want to look.
And they'll pull the book down and they'll flip through it. They'll look at the table of contents maybe, or, you know, page through to see the illustrations or whatever. Like there's a lot of tactile stuff happening. That's another thing. Like make sure you don't take a book from the shelf. You want the books to be there on the shelf. We don't have backups for the books. We have 1 copy of every book. So if you see a librarian, you say, "Oh, can I take this? This looks great." No, you cannot. Thank you. Unless it's Monday and the exhibit is done.
People are wondering about when the booth is going to be staffed, Lee, like which days we're going to physically be there.
We as staff, someone will be there for all the exhibition times, which I will grab from online, but I believe it's 5:30 to 7:30 on Friday. It is 9 to 5 on Saturday, 9 to 5 on Sunday, and 9 to 2 on Monday. I did that from memory. It might not be perfectly accurate, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, the Friday one, because our networking events at 7:30, I believe it ends at 7 on Friday to give people time to get over there. But there are shuttles if you're going and staying in a hotel, a lot of the hotels that are specifically sanctioned for this conference have shuttles from the hotel to the conference center, because this is, I mean, literally thousands and thousands of people are coming. So they got this whole thing set up. So it's a whole system. So if you're at a hotel, you don't get like a Lyft or an Uber, like ask if they have a shuttle. They probably do.
Oh, and Christopher's right. It's 5:30 to 7 on Friday. Those are the show hours. All right. Well, any last call for questions? Well, we really thank you all for coming and being here. A special shout out to Catherine and to my colleagues, Christopher and Andrea. We really want to set you up for success. So we thought, oh, this is something we could do to be helpful. We hope you found it helpful as well. For everybody watching, thanks very much, and see you soon.
Yeah.